need like 50 and sunny, or?
Yeah, at least 50.
50 and sunny.
You know, much colder than that. When she flies out, her, you know, she doesn't have much body mass.
Right.
So second she goes out, she's gonna start losing that heat real quick. And as soon as she can't fly, she's gonna drop to the ground and she's dead. So, you know, warm days, clear sunny days when the bees can fly, that's great.
I think is it the streaks on the front? They'll show up in tons of streaks on the front of your hive. Maybe.
Yeah, sometimes, but not always.
Yeah.
A lot of my hives, when I had it so bad, you could look at the front and you couldn't see anything. But when you did a sample on the inside, or when you did a gut sample, it was just wow.
It's the weak hive for no apparent reason.
So it's basically getting a collection of bees and getting in touch with somebody in our group and the
basically
club.
get like
and they'll direct you.
You know, one of the best things when we do a sample for the varroa mite, we don't we kill the mite or the bees and everything else. If you're concerned about that, just bring, after you've tested for mites, bring it in, let us run a sample through. So a double test. Viruses, sac brood, not usually a hive killer, and I think I've only seen that a couple of times in this area. So it's not really a big thing, but just something we tell you a little bit about. And then the big one. Well, before we go, one thing I didn't add to all this list, I just realized it, is the what do you call those things? Moths. The
Wax moth.
greater moth, wax moth, and the lesser wax moth. They'll get into your stored supers and just tear them apart. Just all that expensive wax, they will get rid of it. The only thing you can use for it that's approved is paradichlorobenzene. And if you've been in the bathroom and you smell the
Toilet with the cleaning of the toilet.
that's what it is. You pass
Oh,
that
it's like
around.
that cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's approved for.
They don't
varroa
have it in
mites.
the ladies' bathroom. It's the guy bathroom.
It's a target.
Put that in the hive.
Do it?
You can put it in,
No.
That's for your store.
What you do is after you've cleared your supers and you've got them cleaned out, then you'll
Your
start
extras.
stacking and you'll put some crystals on the bottom, and then you'll stack 5 hive, and then put you a piece of paper or plastic down, put you some more down in there and build it up. And what it does is the fumes vaporize and fill the whole thing up, and the varroa mites, moths leave because they don't like to smell any more than you do. So it makes the keeps your hive combs safe. There's a new Bacillus thuriside that they've got made up. I've tried it years ago and left some out, and it didn't do any good.
You'll smell it.
I've smelled it a lot. And I can smell it from here too. Potent,
Yes, it is.
and it's impotent to use.
All right. Any questions over those?
One warning: mothballs are not the same as moth ice crystals. When you buy it, look for the
Paradichlorobenzene, not the other stuff. The moth.
Oh, it's something else. Good Lord, I can't remember what it's called.
Anyway, if it smells like the urinals, lady, sorry about that, but if it smells like that, that's the stuff you need. Paradichlorobenzene.
But I think on the package it'll always say crystal.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to look for the word crystal.
And wax moths do not kill your bees. Your bees were weak. Weak bees kill your bees. Wax moths are opportunistic. They come in. Same with hive beetles.
But no, what Bill's right is for.
Yeah.
But absolutely need it when you're storing your frames.
Absolutely.
100%. Ask me how I know.
Unless you have a walk-in freezer and you can store everything in the freezer, yeah, you need it.
Even if you store it in your house?
Uh-huh. Don't ask me how those little buggers find it. But you'll look over in your Tupperware that you thought you had a lid on and be like, why are there... Oh, that's gross.
Wow. I was thinking in the house.
No.
Well,
no, they're magical.
It's amazing where these things just show up.
Just remember, That's why they make cedar chests, cedar closets, and stuff to hang up inside. Moths in the house.
That's right. Yeah, where do they come
One
from? Who knows?
little tip you can do to help is do not allow your queen to lay eggs in your honeysuckle. They only go after the wax that has cocoons in it.
You got a
Cocoons.
little fancy thing if you want to use it.
I don't know if you want to go back.
They go
Can you
after
really
wax where
see-
you
can you
have
see it?
brood.
Well,
They don't
There's-
cover the wax with
They
honey.
will,
Okay.
but they
Yeah,
prefer
sure
wood.
is.
different
Okay.
ones.
All right.
And then when you talk about all of them.
The next one we're going to talk about is the varroa that y'all just looked at. That I'm really upset that we didn't have better queens in there.
So you brushed on, you mentioned deformed wing.
The deformed wing virus.
Yeah.
I didn't mention that. I'm sorry, I skipped that. That's a virus that comes in from the varroa mite. What she does is she comes in and she bites the little pupa bee, and when she does that, she injects some
Yeah, I've seen it.
saliva, which goes in there and sort of dissolves the fat bodies, and with that injection of that saliva, it actually puts some the deformed wing virus into the bee. And what it does is, when she's affected by the deformed wing virus, you can actually, when you see a bee, she won't really have wings. They'll be sort of just stubs there. And when you get the bees to that state, you might as well just forget about them, because they're going to die. You've got too many varroa mites per bee. So it's going to kill the bees, kill the hive.
Well, mine in maybe February had some of those,
Uh-huh.
and then I treated heavily. Like I did a bunch of rounds of treatments, like every 4 days or something, of oxalic acid vapor. And
Came
they're
through.
still alive.
You're lucky.
Yeah.
What you probably did was catch it on that upswing
Yeah.
instead of right now. We're
Right.
pretty much at a
Right now it'd be
downswing.
too late.
So if you get to this spot right here where you're seeing deformed wing viruses, you're pretty much way too late.
Okay.
Well, I hate to interrupt. Has 2 cows gotten out over there as the hay rows?
No, they just walk through the fence from just whenever they want to.
Okay, all right. Go ahead. Think about Roger.
All right, going to Varroa, I will first of all apologize to you profusely. I had a handout. I work off of handouts and stuff like this. Only trouble is, when I went and gave the handouts, I didn't give them back. So you don't have a handout for this, but I will bring handouts during the class that we're going to have this month with Dave Tarpey. And the one thing I'll tell you, if you miss this class a couple weeks from now, you miss the meeting, you're going to miss a fantastic
Talking about Thursday.
presentation.
I also
Thursday
just emailed everybody the link to for
Honeybee Health
Yes.
Coalition.
Oh, good.
But
good.
Dr. Tarpey is Mr. Queen. He has done so much with studies of queens and how they live and what they do, that he is Mr. Queen. So if you miss his talk, you really miss something. I told the other people, I was getting goosebumps thinking about listening to him
Wow.
again, because if he's within a state from me, or 2 states, a lot of times I'll go see him.
Bill, are you
Where does he come
fangirling?
from?
Are you being a fangirl?
What?
A fangirl?
It's a bromance.
What's that?
He's a bromance.
No,
Yeah.
I'm a fanboy, but you know, there's some
Where
people
does
that
he come from?
you know, with Dr. Tarpey and Dr. Seeley, some of those people right there. If you get a chance to see those two, go see them, because you're going to learn so much from
Are
those
the
two.
meetings videoed?
We're going to try to,
Okay.
just
'Cause
like
I
we're,
know I can't come this month. Maybe
we've
I can.
done several of them, and we're going to talk about it at the next meeting. How we're going. These are already on YouTube. Some of these are already on YouTube. So if you miss a meeting, you can actually go to YouTube and find it. Thanks to Mr. Ray. He's the one that's got it all put together. And he's already left. Elvis has left.
If you look for Forsyth Beekeepers Club on YouTube, one of the videos will come up, and then just click on the link to the channel for the club.
Okay.
If you missed Bob Binney when he spoke to us, go to Bob Binney's channel. We were there.
Okay.
Did we make it?
We made it.
We made it.
We made it.
Okay, I'll go
We're
back
famous.
and listen to that
I
one.
tell you, we are famous with Bob. All right, so I messed up and didn't get you all the information I should have. Sorry about that. We'll have it next time. There's several ways of controlling varroa mites. You can do chemical, or you can do natural way, and you can do biological. All right, chemical way. There's 3 basic chemicals that we can use now, and it's Apivar, Apistan, or Apivar, Apistan, and Mite Check. The Apistan we used to use, or was very effective up until the last 2 or 3 years. It was a little white strip. I had one here somewhere, but it disappeared too. But this Apistan worked real good on varroa mites. It kept them under control. The only problem is we overused it, and now surprisingly enough, the varroa mites gotten resistant to it. The other 2, Apistan and Mite Check, are pretty much washed out. The bees have used it, beekeepers have used it so much and abused it that it's no longer effective. Besides, the worst part about it is all this stuff, all these chemicals leached out into the wax and became part of the wax.
Yeah.
So now when the queen lays an egg and she hatches and becomes a larva, she's surrounded by these chemicals. And then when she transitions from a larva to a pupa, she's still in contact with this chemicals, and it's affecting the hives. So that's one of the reasons why we tell everybody at least every 5 years, get rid of all your old comb and put in new comb. So Apistan, Apivar, Apistan, and Mite Check. The biological controls, we've got several different types. We've got thymol, which I use. And don't stick your nose way up in it, but you can smell it.
Smells like Christmas.
Is that thyme in it?
It's thyme. It's a very good, effective treatment. I think anybody see the presentation back in May, where the man from North Carolina was talking about his treatment. The last treatment he used was thymol to control the varroa mite that was left. What you do is you take this pad here and put it down on the top of the brood bars, then put a shim around it, and then put a cover on it, and then walk away. Now, the bad part about it, this time of the year, it's real hot, and it vaporizes this stuff real quick. So during that time, you'll have a lot of bees hanging out on the outside. But after a couple of days, the fumes will downgrade, and the bees will go back inside, and it'll continue killing varroa mites.
So that one little pad,
Mhm.
you just put the thing in there.
Yeah.
And I understand the whole shim and everything. And how long does it
You'll
last?
leave that in for 2 weeks, and then you put another one in for 2 weeks.
And that'll do the whole treatment.
Maybe.
Sort of, right. So
The one thing
how-
about-
in per
Go ahead.
brood box,
Huh?
how many? I mean, let's say you have 2 brood boxes.
Uh-huh.
Just one thing.
One per 2 brood boxes.
Okay.
What
And
I
would you
use.
put it in the middle or at the top?
I usually put it at the top because the the vapors are gonna drop down.
Oh, okay.
Don't you have to, when you replace the next one, put it on the other side? Doesn't
I
that
just
chase
put mine right in the middle.
It doesn't chase the queen away?
Well, it'll chase the queen away right off the bat because of the strength of the fumes.
Oh, okay.
But after a couple of days, the fumes will dissipate and everything will be back to normal. The one thing I found that before I put my thymol on is I'll actually, when I feed my bees, put a little thymol in their sugar so they get a little used to it. So it's not a, whoa! It's a, oh, okay, what's this strange stuff
That sounds
from my feet.
familiar.
Now, Bill, is that temperature dependent?
Not as much so as what we're going to talk about next. This, you can go up to about 100, 105 degrees.
So you can use it now.
Yes, and that's why the fella in North Carolina uses it. That's why I usually use it. And while we're talking about all this stuff, every chemical or everything we have has an efficacy rating, and it can be anywhere from 50 to 90%. The problem we have as beekeepers is we treat and walk away. What I tell everybody, that's a sure way of losing your bees. What you need to do is test, like we did, y'all just did, treat, and then test again. Because if it's only 90% effective, say you had a colony that has 1 mite per bee or 100 mites per bee, or 100 mites per 100 bees. If you use this right here and it's 90% effective, then you've got 10 mites in your sample. That's still above the threshold. So you have to treat again. And now you're down to 1 to 2 mites per threshold if it's 90% effective. Nothing's going to be 100% effective. So you need to test, treat, test until 0 mites. Yes, ma'am.
Can you have honey supers on with that or no?
No.
Okay.
The only 2 things that are effective are allowed during with honey supers on, and that's 3 things: hop guard, formic acid, and oxalic acid. Appreciate it, Hannah. All right, y'all. So, yes, ma'am. Oh,
no, I was banning.
I thought you were just.
I was doing a banner.
All right, then you got your formic acid, which you can use any time of the year. The bad part about formic acid is you can only use it when it's about 85 or less. So it's real good to use during the winter months or in the early spring. You put one of these formic pads on during the summer and you're going to run the bees out. And there's some people saying that you can hurt or damage your queen. Several people said it won't do it. Other people say it will do it. It's just better to not do it. And the only thing you got to do is open it up on a hot day like this, and you'll smell it. You just better make sure you're downwind of it, or it'll tear your nostrils
the formic
and
acid?
lungs out.
Good.
The other one you can use is hop guard, and that's throughout the year. And what it is like a strip, no pest strip that you hang down between the frames. But for one, make sure you've got some disposable gloves on, because this stuff is like playing with tar. So once you put them in there, get rid of those gloves. But it's another treatment you can use whenever supers are on.
You can use it with supers?
Yes.
And is it temperature dependent?
No, it is not. Not that I know of.
Less.
Now, all of this stuff I'm telling you, you had papers sitting there. But, you know, it is what it is. Things happen.
Formic, you said you can use with supers or no?
Formic with supers, yes. But here again, remember, once it gets in our area, once it gets past mid-April, it starts getting way too hot for that stuff. Non-chemical controls, screen bottom boards. How many of y'all use screen bottom boards?
Some.
All right. On our almost every hive we have has screen bottom boards. And Butch and I were talking about it. He was thinking about going back to solid boards, but I think he's changed his mind about solid boards. The screen bottom boards we leave open all year round. We never worry about it.
Because it just doesn't get that cold here.
No, and even up north it doesn't get that cold, because we got to quit thinking like us. When it gets cold in our house, we run over there and touch the thermostat up. Bees don't do that. The colder it gets, they cluster. And in that cluster, you can take your finger and put in there, and it'll be
Hot.
75, 80 degrees.
Yeah.
When they start raising brood, it'll go up to about 90, 95 degrees. But within an inch, all the way around that hive, it's going to be almost atmospheric temperature. So if it's 25 degrees outside, an inch from that cluster will be about 25 degrees. And it's only when they start expanding that they start moving that cluster out.
Bill, you don't put your inserts in your screen bottom boards in the winter?
No,
No?
no. Mine stay open all the time.
Okay.
Unless you're doing a OA treatment.
OA treatment, we'll talk about that in just a few
Okay.
minutes.
So you don't worry about the moisture
It actually helps with the moisture.
It takes care
because
of it.
it's open.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I was going to ask.
And then what the bees will actually do is they'll propolize places, and they'll leave some place open for the moisture to escape.
So you don't
So
necessarily have to have it tilted up. You can just use a screen bottom board.
Yeah. Another way of taking care of varroa mites is drone brood removal. You've seen these green frames you
Yeah.
stick in the hive. The queen comes in there and lays drone eggs. The one thing in the spring that shows a healthy hive is that the hive wants drone brood. They want about 500 to 1,000 drones in there all the time. So what the hive wants to do is have that drone brood in there. So the queen will lay, no matter what you have, you'll have a space in the frame that contains drones, whether it has a green frame or a medium frame in a deep body. And then that will happen when the bees put a little strip of drone frame along the bottom. Now with the green frame, you can take, after it's sealed, put it in the freezer 24 hours, and then come back and put it back in your hive. If you put it back in after you freeze it, what you actually do is test for hygienic behavior, which means how fast they actually remove that drone brood. So if you put that whole frame in there and the next day you look at it and it's completely cleared out, you're probably never going to see American foul brood, European foul brood. You won't see anything else. You won't see chalk brood, sac brood, or anything else. Now you can have the deformed wing virus, but when you've got good hygienic bees in there, you don't have to worry about most of your stuff. What you
They
can
don't
do,
uncap it or anything.
they will uncap it.
Put it right.
They'll uncap it in just a few, if it not in one day, within 2 or 3 days.
Really.
Yeah.
And you see all the they bring them, have to take them out of the hive.
Yep. Or you can take and put these out, and your chickens can feed on the drone brood. Yeah.
So I made a mistake of putting the green frame into a weaker hive.
Yeah.
So we didn't clean it out, and then it smelled like awful.
Yeah.
What do you do with it then? Do you just have to scrape it off and have them draw a new comb?
Yeah.
Or like,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what I do every year. I'll wait till it freezes, and then I'll take a warm knife and scrape off all the drone comb down to the foundation, and put wax on it, and then set it back in for next year. What we found is over a period of time, all these chemicals get into the wax. So with that, we get rid of all that wax, throw it off to someplace else. So, but that's just probably dead drone pupa.
Right, and it smells awful.
Yeah.
But like, you can reuse that.
Yeah.
The foundation.
Yeah.
Like, what's the best way to, like, some of
Well,
them have been like
if that
black
was
and
me,
gross.
I'd take that whole frame out and put it in a strong hive,
Yeah.
and they'll clean it up
Right.
real quick.
Well, that's what I ended up doing.
Yeah.
The second time it happened.
Well, we all learning how to do stuff.
Okay, if you've
Yeah,
got a
I've been
weak
doing it.
hive, you might want to get you a new queen for that hive.
Yeah.
Well, it was 2 nukes, and one turned into laying workers, and I combined them, and then now there's a stronger hive, but it wasn't doing well for a little bit. So,
That's
yeah.
what we're finding out here.
But yeah, there's no like chemical or anything that needs to be cleaned. Like
No.
if there's like bacteria or whatever from rotting
they'll clean it out.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, a lot of people ask what I do with my old comb with some mold and all in there. I'll take and put it in strong colony. They'll clean it up. And you
Okay.
can't even tell the difference within a couple of days.
So would you put wax over the
If I carry it all the way down to the frame,
foundation? Yeah.
a lot of times what I'll do when I get some old comb and it's not right,
Like that black
I'll
comb.
stack it up and put a lid on it and walk away and come back 2 or 3 weeks later, and hopefully if the minor wax moth instead of the greater wax moth, the minor wax moth does a fantastic job of cleaning everything out, but the greater wax moth will start building comb, and that's what
Okay.
they have all that mess. But if you get the lesser wax moth, much better thing. It cleans it up. You just take it, put it there, take a pressure washer, and you can't even tell it's been hit by the wax moth. But the greater wax moth will actually bore into the stuff.
Into the wood.
Mm-hmm.
The medium frame and a deep hive, that works good.
Yeah.
It works real good. And then when you do that, one thing you got to do is take your hive tool, scrape
Just
it off,
scrape off
throw it in the trash
the
can,
wax.
or melt it down solar wax melter and get the wax out of it. And then put it back in there, and they'll be queen will go back to town laying drone eggs just as soon as they draw it out.
Okay.
And a mark of a strong hive is drones in it. This time of the year, with the dearth, pretty much there's no drones in there now.
Bill, I had a problem with 2 years ago with wax moths. They just decimated the
Yeah.
things I had in storage. And I scraped it all out, got rid of all that, and then used Clorox and water and sprayed it down.
Yeah.
And and then I've rinsed it since then. Bees will have nothing to do with that foundation. They just won't.
Did you re-wax it?
Yeah. They just won't have anything. I think I'm just going to start with new foundation.
I don't think you needed the Clorox.
I used to use Clorox all the time anyway. Years ago, we went from 125 hives down to 12 hives. This was during the CCD, 2006, 2007. The next year, I made some of our own queens from ones that lasted through there. I came over here and got a bunch of bees to make my nukes. When I got back home, all the bees had left the boxes. So I got thinking about it, what in the world's that all about? And in the middle of the night, it sort of hit me that there's something in that box. The boxes, not the combs, because the combs came from a good colony over here. Watch out for that thing. That jumped out.
you.
Don't do that anymore. So what I got thinking is, what's the deal? So I got up next morning, went and Cloroxed all the hives, let it dry, went back over here, grabbed some more, went back, and all the bees were still in it. So evidently CCD was either a bacteria, a fungus, or a virus that was killed by Clorox. So I used Clorox. I don't know what happened.
I don't know. I'm thinking I'm just going to have to get new foundation and start over.
I don't know. But unless you put a good wax coating on it, because that's what I do, I'll get the young wax moths to clean it up, and I'll pressure wash it, and then dip it in Clorox, make sure there's no bugs on it, and then re-wax it, put it back in, and they draw it out in no time.
And use pressure washer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another way of controlling varroa mites is brood interruption. What this does is there's no brood for them to go in and hide, so they're always out and about. So anytime that the bees see a varroa mite, if they've got the grooming behavior, like the ankle biters from Purdue, they'll actually chew the mites and throw them out and kill them. And then here again, my favorite is requeening. I'm a big proponent of VSH or Russian bees or something with a biological control that's designed to get rid of the varroa mite. Now, evidently, this group of bees aren't that varroa sensitive. So I don't know. But anytime you get a chance to buy a queen or need a queen, go online, look and see if you can find somebody that's got some varroa resistant queens. And what a lot of people will say, well, you're wasting your money, but it's only maybe $5 or $10 more. But what you got to remember is that queen is going to take care of that hive. But what you got is her drones that are flying out, mating with queens, virgin queens, in your area. And now that genetics is in that hive. You're passing it on. And we've been doing this for several years. And this year's one of the worst years I've seen. I think 2 years ago when we did this, we only had maybe 2 varroa mites per sample.
It was low.
Yeah. Well, you did one of them, didn't you?
I did one, there were no mites.
Yeah. So it can be done. You just got to stay on it and keep up with it.
Mr. Dunn, what are you going to treat with this year now that you've seen your mite counts? What is your next step?
Don't know. Probably what I'll do is vaporize them real good and then hit them 2 or 3 times and then come back with my thiamol in a couple of weeks and see how it goes. But here again, I'll be testing and treating, testing and treating. And y'all have got 2 to 3 hives. That's just one area. We got several more.
You're gonna treat them all prophylactically because you're gonna assume
not
that
these.
they all.
I'll check every last one of them.
All right.
Because if I don't test every one of them, there may be
You don't
3
know
of
if
them
they're-
out there
yeah, you don't
that
know
have
if anything
0.
was good.
And you know what?
That's
Those are
the
the ones I
queen.
want raising
Yeah.
drones for next year. So since they've got 0, why would I want to treat them? I want the mites to try to come in. And then if they handle the mite load with no treatment, that's my drone rearing stock for next year. So everything we have gets tested. And the top ones that we get, several years ago, I was at ABF in Jacksonville and I happened to run into the lady who did the UBO, the unhealthy brood odor test, and got in with her. So after we do all of our testing, we'll do a varroa test, we'll also do a hygienic test, and then we'll take the best ones of the bunch and we'll test them for hygienic behavior and then do the UBO treatment to the best of the best, and then we'll have our breeding stock for next year. So I'm a big proponent of requeening with varroa tolerant or resistant stock. Just to me, that's
VSH when you're
VSH
varroa
or
sensitive hygiene.
Okay. And several years ago, I got some from Dr. John Harbaugh, who made the first VSH queens, and his stock has been fantastic. And I just started with this new stock this year, and I'm not that impressed with it so far. While we're talking about treatments, let's see where we're at here. Uh-oh.
So basically your hives, with the queens that you like, you do queen rearing with those queens?
Yes.
Okay.
And if you went to our queen, any of y'all?
I missed it.
All right.
Well, I couldn't get in.
We used queens from the yellow line. The ones you see here are the red line. And what you can do is, if you look at the inside the hives, there'll be a red cap or a yellow cap this year. And if it's a red cap, it's come from the red line. If it's a yellow cap, it's come from the yellow line. And I can tell you right now, the yellow line, when I was at the house today, had bees bearding out on the outside. The red line didn't have that much. So I'm going to real soon go and do a varroa mite check on her, see how many varroa mites are on the yellow line and the green line. One thing we haven't talked about is the oxalic acid. You've got several ways of treating with oxalic acid. One's a dribble method. The dribble method's supposed to work real good during the non-brood time of the year, which is usually somewhere in this area from November to maybe about January or February, depending on when they start brooding up. If you start when you see the yellow maple or red maple, you're a little bit too late. They've already started brooding up before then. They'll start with the river birch first and then brood up real fast once you get to the red maple. So the dribble method works great when there's no brood in there. I personally don't use it because I just don't. One thing that we talked about is the vaporization method. I've got two types of things here. Some people use the wand. Wand works real good if you only got 2 or 3 hives, but when you got a bunch of them, you got to have something that gets a lot of them. This one's battery powered. This one's, you have to have 110 volt. This one I don't use anymore because the control panels went up, and it'd take me like 3.5 minutes to use this, where this one 20 seconds and I'm ready for another zap.
You know, if it's any validation, the control panel on ours is acting funky too.
Well, I talked to him about it and I said, well, it's up to 3 minutes. And he said, well, that's within normal limits. I said, not for me. I bought the thing to go
Be
down,
quick.
boom, 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 boom. And the one thing, go ahead.
So there's acid inside that box thing?
Mm-hmm.
It's a cartridge?
Yeah, it's a little cartridge.
Oh,
What you
okay.
do is you take the oxalic acid.
Oh, it also is a paperweight.
Was, but you just take and you stick it down in your oxalic acid. You got to make sure when you're doing this, you use a respirator that's rated for this stuff. If you don't, you'll know real quick you messed up.
That's rated for organic acids.
But basically, this one you do. And then when it quits,
tip sprays.
you have to drill a hole through your 1/4-inch hole through your hives, usually the back of the hive.
Oh, so
And
you don't open the hive and
No.
spray it. You put it in like in the side.
But the one thing you got to remember, if you've got screen bottom boards,
Yeah.
that opens everything up. So you have to have a sled or something on it
Cover.
to plug up the hole. And once you fumigate, you have to leave it closed for about 10 minutes to let those fumes get throughout the
So
whole
you
hive.
put a entrance reducer to shut them in, and
As long as you don't use screen bottom boards. If you use screen bottom boards, you got to close the screen off.
right. But do you use an entrance reducer too to block off the entrance?
No.
Well,
Just
that
the
one's-
bottom.
yeah.
You can
I-
put a wet towel over it.
That stays all year round.
Right.
I don't put an entrance reducer or anything else.
No, no.
Talking
But
about
I
when
was,
you treat, you close the entrance to help
I was
keep
Yeah.
thinking you wanted to keep them from coming out so they get all treated. That's
Yeah,
what I was
that's
thinking.
what that does right there. That sits against the front of the
Oh,
hive.
so your gap is in the front, not
He
the
doesn't
back.
have
Yeah.
he doesn't have landing boards on the front of his colonies.
That's
If
it.
you have landing boards, what wet towel?
Yeah, I
Use this too.
It'll work
See, it
with
just
a
slides
landing
right in there.
Okay.
You-
Yeah,
you
I have
wanna
mine
see
facing
what-
the back. So
Well, the back's the front then.
my entrance is on the other side.
Like that.
Yeah. So if I would put that in and seal that up, my entrance is still a gaping hole.
Entrance reducer.
But that's what, yeah.
That's what that is right there.
Yeah.
That lip. It sits against
So
it.
I'm saying if I turn my screen around, I could do one thing to cover both. But as it is right now, I'd
I
have
don't
to.
understand.
I'm lost with that too.
I understand.
Yeah. I
Yes,
have
close
that
your
too.
entrance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Put
you
a
don't
wet
have
towel over it.
that type of board.
Oh, if
Yeah.
you don't have this.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Put whatever your IPM
Shove
board is. A lot of
grass.
people have core flute ones that
Yeah.
come with their screen bottom boards. He's got the metal ones. But those don't cover your entrance, and so it's a wet hand towel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
I'm sorry.
For 10 minutes.
You know,
for 10 minutes?
I'm used to
Yeah.
what I
10.
do,
Right.
and when people, if I see it, I can
Yeah.
So
figure
if
it
you have
out.
multiple hives, have multiple.
But I was sitting there trying to
Hand
figure out, that causes an issue, but you don't have that
Right.
particular one.
Yeah.
I like that one there, Bill. That one runs off a tool battery, does it not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one runs off.
Oh,
With,
like one of the, yeah, you just.
Is that the is that the low row bees one or
Yeah.
a different one?
this
I
one.
got one of them this winter.
I like that.
How much is that? It's a lot.
It's a
I think
lot.
it's about 400
500. I think it's 500.
$500.
It's up there.
But
Or if you
you
get the fancy ammo can carrying case.
yeah.
What?
But
Yes.
Dyson
this
must
is
make it.
for somebody that's got a bunch of hives.
Yeah.
2 or 3, I'd stay with the wand. Whether you get the
So there's an oxalic acid wand,
yes,
and you go.
no,
No,
away.
it's
It's got like a little cup on the end of
moves.
it.
Wingardium Verosa.
Right. That's exactly what.
Think, the hot dog sticks that they
Yes.
have the
A skewer.
think that,
Yes.
but with a cup on the end and a battery, a plug in and run it. The problem with it is if you're running a bunch of hives, it takes a while. If you're running 2 or
It is
3 hives,
slow, but
Also,
2, 3, 4 hives.
Yeah.
It's all you need.
you have to do it
The
twice.
wand.
Getting
You have to do it back to
getting
back.
one of these would
They're like
be
100 and.
unless you are
$40.
got money to burn and
Yeah.
you're super gadgety. I love this
No.
thing. Get it, but otherwise you just need the wand.
But you need to do about 4
Once you
ounces.
start selling a lot of your
Grams.
honey, you
4
can
grams
use
per
that
treat.
there you
Roll
go.
it back into the apiary.
What was that?
Once you start selling a bunch of honey,
Oh yeah.
what are,
Expensive.
it's like, what am I going to do with this? Car note? No. More equipment.
Absolutely.
That's right.
My biggest question is there's so many different kinds of treatments, and then the chemicals get into the wax. I like getting the honey, and I like to have the honey for my bees, and which are the ones you can't? I mean, I guess you just take your honey stores off
Yeah.
for the 10 minutes. You do whatever you
Well,
do.
you don't
if
do
I
that
use
until after.
Apivar,
Yeah.
I put those Apivar strips in. I take my honey
Yeah.
supers off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For how long?
That's when you're harvesting your honey.
That's after it's all over said and done with.
Well, I don't. So I can't use Apivar for the rest of
No.
the year.
Well, as long as you have honey supers on, you can't use Apivar.
The
Right.
honey supers
For
for
human
human consumption.
Yeah.
If you're leaving it for the bees, you can leave the honey super on.
Oh, okay.
So one
That's
one,
fine.
one
Remember, it gets into the wax,
Yeah.
so you don't want to use those frames for.
correct.
Honey, humans and stuff.
One thing that people will do if they're using something like Apivar or another treatment method that's you're not supposed to do when there's honey supers on. A lot of people this time of year will have a super over their brood area, some of them, that's the bee's food. Take a Sharpie and mark a big X on it
Yeah.
that this is not
For
to
human
ever be
consumption.
extracted in perpetuity
Yeah. For the skull and
until you
crossbones.
scrape all the wax off of it and start all over again.
After the season.
Like down to the foundation.
No. I mean after
In
they've
5
taken all
years.
the honey from the winter. Then
You leave
No,
it.
then you
Forever.
don't use it next year either. It's forever. It's a forever
Then you put it back on for them
pesticide-ridden
to have
honey
a
frame.
food super again.
for the bees. Right.
That's always for the bees.
Yeah.
So when you're feeding
Right.
sugar water and trying to get them
But
to
there's-
build up some
right.
stores, for them, they use that super.
That is. I didn't think about that with all these chemicals.
Yeah.
It's freaking
Well,
out.
in the handout I'll bring in a couple of weeks, it's got all that. But Terry sent out a link to the Honeybee Health Coalition. It's got everything that I've talked about and even more. It's got videos about each particular thing we've talked about. So you just go in there and hit the video and it'll tell you all the pros and cons about it.
Oh, great.
And it's a fantastic resource.
That's a new source for us. I've never heard of that.
So have you seen like queens not lasting as long if using like oxalic acid or any type of treatments? Like, does it reduce like how long?
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Well, how long? I guess do you requeen every year?
That's controversy. I do not requeen every year. I
Okay.
don't requeen every other year. I wait till I see that my queens are going down,
Okay.
and when they go down, I usually take those and make nukes out of them and start them back over again. Now Butch requeens every year, year and a half.
I don't run 2-year queens year,
Yeah.
she normally fails with it.
Yeah, I got two packages last year, first bees I've ever had, and neither of those queens made it to the honey flow, nectar flow.
Yeah.
Like, is that normal?
That's one of the things Dave Tarpey did
Yeah.
a big study on, and what he did was get Joe to order 5 queens from here, 5 queens from there, and he got 5 queens from everybody.
Yeah.
He brought them back and he started testing them. He ran 2 or 3 of them, or maybe 3 of them into hives to see how long they lasted. He'd bring a couple into the lab, he'd kill them, he'd take some biometrics of it, he'd kill them, he'd pop the spermatheca, he'd count the number of sperms in the spermatheca, and throughout all this stuff, he listed a bunch of people as A's, B's, and C's.
Okay.
The Wilbanks apiaries down here got an A+.
Oh wow.
So I'm a big proponent of Patrick. Huh?
Did he do Gartner's?
I don't know. But anyway, Patrick will proudly put on his thing an A. My only reason for not using him is he doesn't have VSH on there. Because if I'm going to spend money on a queen, I want a VSH queen. Because it's been proven that they work.
Yeah.
But you said yours aren't working so good.
Well,
From
that's
that-
in this one
that
particular
specific vendor.
thing. Now, I don't know about the other one, but then that's from one breeder in California.
Right.
But there's
One-
other
one
breeders.
queen out of thousands he did that
Yeah.
with.
Yeah, it depends on what she mates with out here.
Okay.
And, you know, it's a hit or miss, but at least I'm trying to move ahead.
Yeah. You're
by
trying to
bringing
start
in-
out strong.
Uh,
New
resistant
genetics.
stock. We don't buying other bees, so we're not bringing in Varroa from other places that have different abilities or different genetics. So in this area, we're pretty much try to have a little island here. Any other questions?
We going to small hive beetles?
Small hive beetles?
Oh, we're talking about that.
We can
too.
talk about it. A lot of people worry about them. Me, I don't even worry about them.
They're fun to squish.
I've done that.
But
So
they're-
you don't need the little oil traps or
Well,
the
you
Swiffer
may.
sheets.
So we're going to go back to small hive beetles don't kill your hives.
right.
Your weak hive kills your hive. So if
Take
you,
my Swiffer sheets out.
you know, so if you, oh, I had small hive beetles, my hive is dead. No, you had a weak hive, and the
Going down
opportunistic hive
anyway.
beetles came on.
But
if you-
almost every hive I've got hive beetles, and I might, if I get a chance, if I'm not
Just
too
pop
busy,
'em.
I might
Okay.
smash them. But I don't really care. I look at them and say, all right.
How that-
You
So they're
wanna-
not really a pest for me.
So if you want to be vigilant, and you can put diatomaceous earth underneath your hives. You can put ground cloth on top of that and your hives, because they fall down, the larva hatches in, and they fly back up. So that's their life cycle. But if you've got a good strong hive, you're not going to have a Hina tumunda, because I like to say it.
I've never had a problem with hive beetles.
Okay, good to know.
Any other questions?
The treatment using oxalic acid. I used to do it where you treat and you come back in 2 weeks or so and then treat again. But last year when I was out here, I was told that that doesn't work.
No.
There's always going to be brood in there. You're always going. So, but then last year I tried using the queen isolation where I built cages and she got out every time.
She will.
Yeah. But the other thing now I'm going to try this year is to isolate her in her own brood box, separated by the queen excluder, and then, that way the bees can feed her and all that kind of stuff. And then we just I'm going to let those, the other brood box go broodless, and then treat one time,
You
and
can
then
do that.
test and
Verifying
try.
right now.
Is that what?
To me, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So
What do you
I don't
like to do?
try to separate the queen because first of all, you got to find her.
Yeah.
And that's, we were just over there pulling some bees for y'all to test over there, and 2 of us looking for them didn't see all the queens. So that's a boogerbear of a thing. So I don't do it because it takes too long. One thing about that 24 or 7-day treatment or 14-day treatment, the life cycle of a varroa mite before the larva is capped, this little mama varroa mite will crawl in at the bottom of the food and lay there until the larva eats all the food. By the time the larva eats all the food, they're already capped. And now she's free and ready to go. So she goes and does her thing on the pupa, and then the pupa emerges, and that varroa mite, first thing she does is go find her a young fresh bee to feed on. And then anywhere from between 3 to 5 days she's exposed before she goes back down into the the comb again underneath the larva. So if you do it every 7 days, you've missed everything. So you're only getting part of the thing. That's why they're talking about moving the treatments up to between 4 and 5 days. Because at that point in time, you hit it every 4 days, and you get almost everything.
So,
but it's, you know, if you got 50 to 60 or more colonies, that's a lot of work.
I only have 2 hives.
Well, there you go.
So I should do it every 4 to 5 days instead of trying to isolate.
Now that's, I'm not telling you to do that because that's not the treatment. The treatment is the treatment. But, you know, they're changing the treatments all the time as they find out treatments aren't working. But here again, you know, test, treat, test. Make sure you test after you treat each time.